Are you tired of overcomplicated or at least stressful manifestation techniques? Perhaps you're really struggling to visualize, or you're finding it an absolute nightmare to affirm 24/7, like crazy banshee in the corner. You want something simple, you want something powerful and game-changing that doesn't affect your mental health and that actually makes a difference. Imagine this, right? You're manifesting, for example, your specific person, as I know that many of you are, and you're dreaming of your home life together in your head. You're having this wonderful vision of the two of you, and yet internally you're fighting with yourself. Why aren't they texting me? I can't believe they said that. Maybe you're having an argument with them, calling them a loser, calling them a loser, or telling them that you hate them or something like that. We've all done it. We've all been there. Does it sound familiar to you? Well, this video is for you, because I'm going to reveal how your internal conversations, which are very simple, very natural, yet extremely profound technique that I'm going to share with you, how you can turn those inner conversations from something that is having a negative impact on your lifestyle and your manifestations to something that is positive. I'm going to break down why it works. I'm going to break down how to use it step by step. I'm going to give you examples. This video is going to be like nothing you've ever seen before on the topic of inner conversations, because I know that many of you have heard or come across many videos that have shared about inner conversations. It's probably not the first time you've heard about it, but I guarantee it's the first time you've heard about it in the way that I'm going to explain it to you as well. And this is something that you can utilize with my passive imagination technique, where I've discussed about, and I'll share the link in underneath the video in the description box. But that passive imagination technique that you do whilst you're in the shower, whilst you're commuting to work, whilst you're washing the dishes, it's a way that you can impress your unconscious mind whilst you're in a trance-like autopilot state. And if you can do an inner conversation during this time, then you're laughing. And the best part about it is that it's perfect for absolutely anyone. So if you're struggling with vivid imagining, if you've got a short attention span, which I know that I often struggle with as well, if you're feeling maybe you're just overwhelmed by this overactive mind that you've got going on, inner conversations are actually very natural and accessible, and they rely on the dialogue that's already happening within you. It's not something that you've never done before. You're simply just redirecting it when you notice it's going in the opposite way of what you would like. And this is also a really, really good tool for those of you who are suffering perhaps with OCD. If you've got obsessive tendencies, this is particularly powerful because it provides a structured, positive focus that helps to reframe your intrusive thoughts. And it channels the mind's natural tendency for repetition into something constructive. Similarly, individuals with anxiety, so if you've got severe anxiety, which I had grown up with all my life, then you can benefit from this method as well, because it offers you a very safe mental space to practice this soothing dialogue that reduces your fear, and it fosters an emotional regulation. You can almost use it as a compassion focus therapy method in a way, having these compassionate internal dialogues with yourself when you feel afraid, when you feel alone, when you're in your head riddled with anxiety. What about if you have ADHD? How many of you have ADHD, where your sustained focus can feel extremely challenging? Internal conversations are going to work beautifully for you as well, since they can be done in brief moments. They require no elaborate preparation, no let me do all my breathing and meditating and rubbing my crystals all over myself and, you know, chanting to the moon, whatever it is. It really is that simple, and of course nurtures your mental well-being, which is what we're all about in this channel. This is your safe space. For those of you who are new, welcome. I'm Athena Raven, and I'm here to make this very, very simple for you so you can get your desired outcomes without stressing yourself out. I'm going to share with you the science and the psychology behind why these techniques work, so you're not just doing it like some mindless robot. You actually understand why you're doing it, and you can do it with intention. And if you do things with intention, you will succeed. That's why my success rates are so high, because I go into it with intention to see people succeed, and all of you do. I'm getting so many of your success stories. Thank you so much for sharing. Keep them coming. And how many of you have got a hot drink now? You better have. If you know what we do on this channel, sit back, relax, and get yourself a hot drink. I've got my little kitty cat mug. I've actually got a herbal tea today, and it's called Balance. It's like rose hips and something. It's going to balance me out somehow. I don't know. And what do you think? We went for a bit of a snow effect. We've still got the fire going on. You can still have the crackling ambience. Get yourself a pen and paper. If you don't have any notes to take, use the comments section to take some notes, because I'm going to highlight some bits. The more that you can make notes on these things, the more it can impress on your mind so you can fully understand it. So are you ready? Stay with me, because this is going to be valuable. So this practice doesn't just help you to feel better. Let me just get that right, okay? It goes way beyond that. It rewires your subconscious mind to reflect these new inner dialogues outwardly. So whether you're manifesting a new job, or maybe you're wanting to improve relationships with friends, with family. Perhaps you just want to manifest better mental health overall. In a conversation, it's the ultimate tool to transform your inner world. And that's what we're always working on. It's always about the internal world, never about the external. So remember, every word that you speak to yourself is shaping your life. And you want to make sure that you make every single word empowering, with intention, with intention to create the life that you want to create, essentially is what I'm trying to say. So by the end of the video, you're going to understand everything about inner conversations, why it's a powerful tool for shifting your state, how it helps you to connect through all the mental planes. Did you see my video about what manifestation is? Actually, we exist on 3 planes of existence, right? Mental, spiritual, and then into the physical. The physical is always last to manifest your desire. And this inner conversation will exist across all 3. It's the missing piece, I should think, in many of your manifestation journey. And I'm going to share a little story as well about a client of mine and what happened, and how changing his inner conversation was actually the complete turnaround. In fact, he is going to share his success story. I've been on at him because he's been with his SP now for, I don't know, it's been almost a year, and I have touched upon his success before, but I want him to share his success in his own words to all of you so that you can hear it. So stick around if you're ready to change your life, because we're going to rebrand ourselves. 2025 is going to start with a bang, okay? So let's look into, firstly, what are inner conversations and why do they work? Why would you say that an internal conversation is more effective than affirming all day, for example? So I'm going to break it down. An internal conversation, it's a mental dialogue that we all have, every single one of us have. It's the talking in your head moments that you don't even realize you're scripting out. So like imagining a confrontation with your boss, or rehearsing what you would say to your ex. These are the kind of things that you always do. How many of you have had an argument with someone and then you found, I know I do this all the time, you see I'm speaking from experience. You find yourself in the shower and you're going over the argument and thinking about all the things that you wish you would have said to them. I wish I said this, I wish I said it that way. And then you actually have the conversation again and again, and it stirs up a lot of emotion within you, right? And this is why it matters. This is why it's important to use your internal dialogue to your advantage, not to your detriment. It's because the brain doesn't know the difference between an imagined conversation and a real one. That's a gem. Write that down. Write that down in the comments, okay? It doesn't know the difference, right? So when you're engaging in these dialogues, your subconscious is basically taking notes, saying, right, I've got it. This is what we're creating now. And these conversations are impressing in your subconscious, which is therefore shaping what you believe about yourself, about the world, about the person that you are having the internal conversation with. And then it's ultimately, as a result of that, because the universe is mental, everything starts within. Because of that, it is going to be reflect in your physical reality. So I want you to remember this. In fact, here's a quote for you to write that down. Here's a gem. What you whisper in your mind is going to become what you hear in the world. It's not just something that's happening in your imagination. It is going to be something that you experience in your physical. So make note of that, because that's truly important. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of the science behind all of this, which I love to do, as you know. But when you engage in an inner conversation, you activate your brain's default mode network. I've discussed this before through the passive imagination technique that I was sharing with all of you. It's how I manifested my current specific partners, how I manifested my business, and plenty of amazing things. And this is essentially the state where your brain goes into an autopilot. It just kicks in during the times that you were doing something that you always do. Maybe you're hoovering the house, say for example, you're commuting to work, you're showering, you're washing the dishes, you're daydreaming. You know, it's when your conscious mind is quiet and your unconscious mind taps in, is taking over, and is therefore a lot more receptive, because you don't have the conscious mind in the way telling you you can't have this, you can't, wishful thinking, they don't love you. It's just completely tapped out because it's on autopilot. So this is the fun part, and this is something that, like I say, you're never going to hear this stuff on any other channel. Now, auditory input, so what you're hearing, like imagine conversation, for example, it often has a stronger emotional impact than your visual input. Did you know this? Okay, so why is that? It's because the brain processes auditory stimuli much more deeply in the limbic system, which is the emotional command center of the brain. So here's something for you guys to take away. The mind thrives on repetition. Your inner conversations are its favorite teacher. So keep mind of that. Your inner conversations are your mind's favorite teacher, and it's something that we repeat over and over again without knowing. So might as well do it consciously, right? So let's look at why inner conversations, the negative inner talking that we all have, why does this cause an issue? So if your imaginal act is good, like I said in the beginning of this video, you've got a fantastic outlook or vision or picture of you and your specific person, you know, flourishing, or you and your boss congratulating you because business is just going so well. But your internal dialogue remains negative, then the latter always wins. So your inner dialogue always wins, because the internal conversations are more repetitive. They tend to be emotionally charged. You tend to do them a lot when you're in that state of just completely tapped out autopilot. That's when we run our inner conversations. And so they, as a result of that, will create stronger neural pathways, reinforcing the negative state that you are unknowingly embodying. And that's the thing. A lot of us are doing this unknowingly, subconsciously. So this is why you have to become more self-aware. Here's a metaphor for you, actually, to help you to understand this. Think of it like this. Your imagination is the spark, but your internal conversation is the fuel. So if the fuel is toxic, if the fuel is non-effective, then that spark that you have with your imaginal act is not able to light effectively, or at least to carry you through. Now, this is something that you're not going to hear. This is something actually that's going to contradict a lot of what you guys hear. From what I've heard from my clients, teachers who are, for the most part, perhaps inexperienced or misunderstand the law, are very fearful to allow you guys to vent and to rage. And now I speak from 20 years of experience, so I can tell you from experience that when it comes to negative dialogue, so say you're like, oh my God, you've come to the realization that, but I was just, I've been manifesting my ex for however long, and I've been having an argument with him the whole time, or I've been arguing with my boss this whole time, or my family member, or whatever. Have I just ruined things? Listen up, okay? We have to be honest here. Sometimes we need to just vent things out. Some of you have been wronged. Some of you have been betrayed. Some of you have been made to feel less than, to be stressed out. That's not something that you're just going to take on the chin, is it? And it's not something that you should either. You should honor your human side. You should understand that you are just as much human as you are connected to your God, higher self, source. So the frustration, the anger, the resentment that you're currently feeling, it's good, because it's part of being a human being. It's part of having a full-on experience of life. Going to my client, I'll just tell you a little story about him. He was manifesting his specific person, like a lot of people are. Of course, all of you come to me with specific person manifestation. And I can tell you, because we were working together for a while, he was doing all the right things. He was taking on the advice. We had done some very effective hypnosis. He was really beginning to shift his state. But there was a lot of stuff that he was struggling to let go. Now, I can't force people to let things go. I can give them the tools, the guidance. I can put them in a state of hypnosis and assist them. And it happens. But everyone lets go in their own time. And unbeknownst to him, although his imaginal scenes and his meditations were very positive, his inner talking was essentially like he was in some sort of courtroom drama and he was winning every single argument in this courtroom drama. And so when his SP finally came in, which I think they had, and correct me if I'm wrong, darling, because you're probably watching this, 18 months, was it? Or a year or something of that, of separation, of silence. When she finally came in, when he realized that his inner talking was still negative, when I got him to change that and to start to be more consciously aware of it, SP came in really quickly, I think the next day. And he admitted, or no, she admitted, sorry, that she had wanted to come back for quite a while, but she was picking up that perhaps there was still this lingering animosity and resentment. She was worried that he would be mad. And of course, internally in his inner conversations, he was. So it didn't stop her from coming in, essentially. It might have delayed and pushed things back. However, she had shifted enough through his imaginal acts, but you can see why your inner conversations, they should be and they need to be at least in harmony with your outcome. So don't think of it as a failure. If you have been venting or whatever, you need to empower yourself by letting things loose. You need to empower yourself by venting it out. This might surprise you. Like I say, you're not going to hear this anywhere else, but I actually encourage it. And when I manifested, for example, actually all my SPs, but particularly the third one really annoyed me. I felt betrayed. I felt like, I didn't really get any closure. So naturally, I'm a human being. I was frustrated. Thought he was an idiot, coward, the way that he did things. It didn't stop me from caring about him as a person and from understanding that he was perhaps going through his own issues or whatever. But I allowed myself a good, week or 2 weeks, I can't remember now. I allowed myself that time to argue with him, believe it or not. So I would be calling my friends and I would be venting. And I knew what I was doing. I was aware of it. But the fact of the matter is, how can I get over the old story if I don't vent it enough to process it? If I don't perhaps get another opinion so that it can help me to reframe it? Because when you're emotionally entangled in something, it's very difficult. And you guys know this. It's very difficult to change your opinion. It's very difficult to reframe it. Sometimes you do need to vent it to a therapist or a coach or a friend, anyone who will listen to you, right? So this is what we need to keep in mind. Now, this is where it gets deep. Your internal conversations, they're not just imaginary. As much as a lot of you are thinking that and you feel like, oh, it's just in my imagination, it's not real. We have to get out of that way of thinking. Remember, when you're on this journey, you are unlearning everything that you learned about how creation is. So you've got to think that everything exists. Remember what I said, that hermetic principle of the universe is mental. Everything exists first mentally before it was birthed. Everything. So there's no separation between you and anyone else. There's no separation between you and this physical, or you and your mind, or you and your physical. We experience separation in this reality, but it's all essentially an illusion. And according to non-dual teachings, for those of you who follow like non-duality, we're all one. We're all connected by the one source, the one consciousness. We've been individualized into 7, 8 billion, how many people are on this planet, different perceptions, different worlds, different experiences. We've been individualized, but we come from that same source. So you've got to think of it that if we come from the same consciousness, we all share the same awareness, then when you have an internal conversation with your SP or your boss or whoever, it's not just talking to yourself. You've got to think of it like this is a real exchange. Just because it's happening in the mental and spiritual planes at the moment doesn't mean that it doesn't diminish its importance, doesn't diminish the effect and the power. In fact, it's more powerful than a conversation you'd be having in real life. And you've got to wait for it. What I'm about to say here, it's another gem. Some of you already know this, but you've got to bear in mind that every inner conversation is a seed that is planted in the collective consciousness for you to manifest. It's for you to manifest in the physical. And that means as well that if we are all connected and everything that's happening in the mental plane is the true reality, then there's no such thing as no contact. For those of you who are sad because you're in no contact, you're feeling like you're blocked, you haven't spoken to them for a while, there's no such thing. You converse with them through inner conversation, right? That no contact is a pause in communication. It's a illusion, again, of the 3D reality. So keep that in mind. Jot that down if you need to. Now, here's a powerful thought. Think of it like this. The universe doesn't speak in distance. It speaks in connection. Absolutely. So I'm going to now give you the steps, if you're still with me. And if you are, again, well done. Let's have a bit more of our drink, shall we? Because there's a lot of information to take here. And I know I really throw it on to you guys. And like I say, my videos are probably the kind of videos that you'd have to come back to and watch and rewatch, because there'll be a lot of gems there that you're not going to pick up the first time round. It's like when you watch a movie and you watch it again and you watch it again, more things become available, you interpret things differently. And as you shift state, you're going to notice changes in how you perceive the things I say as well. And it's going to be more in harmony with your end results. It's going to be more clear. So let me give you the steps now as to how to do this. I'm going to break everything down for you. So step number 1 is to get into the right state. In order to have a powerful inner conversation, you need to be relaxed. You need to be in a state where your subconscious is most receptive. And that's when I was saying about getting into that default mode network, which essentially happens very naturally for many of us. Yes, you can do it through hypnosis. Yes, you can do it through putting yourself in a meditative state, doing breathing exercises and all the rest of it. But your DMN is also engaged when you're doing chores, like I say, everyday chores, or when you're showering, you're doing stuff that you do every day that you just tap out. Your conscious mind takes a back seat and your subconscious is open to being impressed. So this is the time that you want to be really conscious of the kind of internal conversations that you are having. So let me give you some examples that's going to cover business or love or various things, just so you know what an effective inner conversation is like. So if, for example, you're manifesting love, imagine that your SP is saying something to you like, I love how natural and easy it is to feel, how natural and easy it is to be with you. I can't believe how lucky I am. I can't believe that it's been 3 years already. And you can feel yourself responding quite naturally with, you know, I can't believe it too. Isn't it wonderful that everything worked out for us? Whatever. Please keep this in mind. Do not take my words, because the idea of this is that you want to make it natural. In order to really impress, you want to make it natural. So if you're taking what I'm saying and you're scripting it verbatim and you're trying to replicate that, if it's not the way you talk or the way your SP talks, whatever, it's going to feel very unnatural and you're going to feel very disconnected. Please take your own inner conversations. I'm just giving you examples here, okay? So for a boss scenario where it's about work, where it's about progression, maybe you want a raise, maybe you want to be promoted, you could perhaps hear yourself having a conversation with your boss whereby they're saying to you, oh, you know, your work on this project has been absolutely incredible. You totally deserve that raise. You're such an asset to the team. And you could be like, yeah, you know, it's fantastic. I never thought I would get to this place, and here I am. It's all worked out. You know, whatever you're going to say. Remember, a calm mind, which is truly important in all of this, creates clearer connections. So you want to make sure that you're in a calm state when you are going through this. So step number 2, start small. Like I always say to people, test it, and test it out with perhaps things that you maybe don't have too much resistance to. Test it out on other specific people, friends or whatever. I test this stuff out all the time. Like I said, I'm always manifesting desires surrounding specific people, for whatever reason it is, for various things, just to test, just to remind myself that there is no separation. The whole time I do that, I always feel like I'm in more control. That really helps with anxiety as well. Please don't overcomplicate it. I want you to craft conversations that feel natural and that come from the position, I should say, of your desired outcome already being true. Okay, so wherever you are having this conversation from, you've got to think that everything's worked out for me. My desired reality has become a truth, and this is where this is the kind of conversation I would have. This is what they would be saying, what I would be saying. You're not asking for it to happen. Okay, the brain responds to simplicity and to repetition. So keep it personal, keep it simple, and allow yourself to loop it gently. Don't go mental with it. This is not 10,000 affirmations in a day. This is just in a trance state, tapping out. Allow it to just gently loop, to feel it out, okay? From a psychological perspective as well, you have to understand that your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. So repeated inner conversations are going to create those new neural pathways that reinforce your desired state. And that is going to make you feel as though it's normal, as though it's happened, as though it's inevitable. And this is how you shift state, and you get into the Sabbath and you become detached from your 3D reality. You can, like I say, test it out with a partner, a lover, even talking about how great it's been that everything's worked out. Or maybe if you had a terrible argument with them or your boss or someone like that, that again, you can replay it where it's a lot more harmonious. Ask yourself, how would I have preferred this conversation to have gone? How would I have preferred this outcome to have been? I even revise sometimes with inner conversations as a way to help me to reframe something. If someone said something to me that was painful, that was hurtful, sometimes I imagine myself having a almost diplomatic conversation with them, or almost like a therapy session, depending who this person is and what my outcome is, where I sort of try to understand and extract their point of view, and I try to figure out what is it, what's going on, and we have more of a diplomatic conversation, which then reduces my resistance, my frustration, my anger. It's not about letting them get away with the wrongdoings. Like I said, I allow myself to vent. It's not about forgiving people when they've done you wrong. It's about these negative emotions, they don't serve you at all. And you being angry at them or being nasty at them or trying to troll people or trying to vent your anger and project your anger out and frustrations at the world, the only loser is you. And you're the one carrying that anger, which then resides in the body, which then turns into disease. Do you need that? Do you deserve that? No. So you do these inner conversations to relieve yourself of this anger, to help you to understand it, to help you to process it, to help you to vent it, and then ensure that you're replacing it with something a lot more constructive, shall we say. So instead of suppressing emotions, which I know a lot of you get taught to do, a lot of my clients have said that they have been taught to, if they want to talk about their old story, they're not allowed to. Didn't happen. Your old story gets dismissed, like you're meant to forget it. It's not how the human mind works. That's why I actually ask people that I work with. I give you extra time in my sessions because I need to know your old story. I need to know what words you're using to describe. I need to know where your mind is at in order to extract these limiting beliefs at the subconscious level. Because if we don't process it effectively, it remains. Where do you think that old story goes? We're not putting like a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound. You know, I sound American there, don't I? Band-Aid, we say plaster, but you know what I mean. So don't be afraid to vent. Don't be afraid to let it all out. And then gently redirect your mind to the conversation you would prefer to have and how you would have preferred it to have gone. And I promise you that in time, that will start to become your go-to. The more positive is going to become your natural state. Carl Jung, a lot of you have heard of him. He very famously said, you know, what you resist persists. That's why I'm all about nurturing the human side and allowing yourself to feel and to release those old emotions, because venting is going to activate the brain's limbic system, which is going to help you to process. It's going to help you to release that tension, because let's face it, it's too heavy. You don't deserve it. And you don't want to be carrying that tension into the new year, right? So after venting, like I say, you can pivot the conversation. Let me give you an example as well. So instead of inner conversations that we might have, which is like, oh, you know, why don't you care about me? And, you know, you forgot about me, or I hate you, whatever kind of things that we say, you would say, you know, I understand that you care deeply for me and I do feel loved, or something along those lines. If it's your boss, for example, and you're saying, oh, you know, my boss doesn't care, he's always giving me the hard jobs, he doesn't notice my efforts, you could say, you know what, I'm so grateful that I'm being acknowledged, that I'm being valued. That's if you're having like an inner conversation with yourself and you're not having it with your boss, because you can do it like that as well, where you're sort of talking to yourself and comforting yourself. Like I say, that's particularly good for people with anxiety. We don't want to suppress anything, because if you suppress it, you empower it. That's a gem that needs to be written down. Okay, if you suppress it, you empower it. So that's why we're not going to do that. Now, the next step, step number 4, you want to be playful. Always, like I've said before in a lot of my videos, and I've explained why psychologically playfulness is your ally and all of this, because it is your secret weapon. If you make an inner conversation light and enjoyable, guess what that does? Well, first of all, that reduces resistance, and you amplify your ability to align with that outcome if you're playful. So you can even make your inner conversations playful, fun, jovial as well. We don't have to be so serious with this, guys. You see, when you're being playful, your mind releases dopamine, and this enhances your learning and your ability to be creative. It also helps your subconscious to absorb the desired outcome more effortlessly. Plus, it feels good. It feels good to align with it, and it feels good to have a laugh, doesn't it? So let me give you an example, because like I say, you can be as fun, as silly with it as you like. Imagine your specific person is teasing you playfully in your inner conversation. I mean, this is a good way actually to reduce the anger and resentment you might have, right? That you can imagine that they're saying to you, oh, you know, I still can't believe that you convinced me to marry you. My God, you cheeky so-and-so, you are way out of my league. And you can just see yourself laughing and perhaps telling you, yeah, don't forget it, you know. I don't know. Like I say, make it natural, make it yours. But you can be jovial and have a lot of fun with it. Maybe even picture it as well with your boss, where you're having a joke with them too, and they're joking around with you, so that you don't see them as some sort of terrible dictator that hates you. In fact, you're opening up a version of them that is more fun, that is more playful, that is more human, and someone that you can relate to and someone that you can actually like. Remember, I want you to make this process like take out the chore in manifestation. A lot of you are making it a chore. That's why so many of you are tired, frustrated, and get annoyed if you don't see results. But the physical reality is a constant result. It's a constant effect of what's going on. You're always the cause. That's not to say that you're blamed for the things that happen, because you can't control the way that things happen. So yeah, undesirable things and that when they happen, it's not your fault directly. You're just there to set intentions, and your only responsibility is to set those intentions. And what is your perception of those negative things that might occur? So try and make it lighthearted. The lighter that you feel, the higher that you are going to rise in all of this. And so this approach is not just a tool. I don't want you to just think of it as another technique. It's a bridge between your subconscious and your desired reality, between your mental realm and your physical realm. The benefit of it is that it reprograms those limiting beliefs. So if you're wondering about how to reprogram, I always get asked that. Reprogram limiting beliefs in a conversation. Create emotional alignment with your ideal state. Shift your state in a conversation. Turning manifestation into a natural, simple process that doesn't require effort, energy, stress in a conversation. And when it's done with this intention and playfulness, like I've mentioned before, then the 3D world is going to follow suit. And that's just it, because that's just how it works. This technique is a game changer. This is why I've been desperate to do this video, but I wanted to do it in a way that gave you enough information to understand why you're doing it and to do it effectively. Because I want you to get it, and I want you to get it right, and I want you to have fun with it. It aligns your thoughts with your emotions. You know, it aligns you with your end result. If you master this, you're not going to be hoping anymore. You're going to be living the life that you want from the get-go. Something within you is going to click. You're not going to even understand it. A lot of people don't. But that's how effective it is. It just clicks, and then you're kind of like, I don't even care about that result. I'm not even sure if I want my SP. I'm not even sure if I'm really bothered. I'm not stressing about it. That's what happens when you shift your state. It's simple, it's effective, it's always available to you, and it helps you to improve your relationships and, like I say, to merge the mental and physical realms with least resistance. And that's what we're all about on this channel. Whatever you nurture in your mind is going to grow into the world. So make sure that you're nurturing conversations and scenarios that soothe you, that serve you, that show you how incredible you are, that reiterates your skills and ability. Reshape yourself. Who do you want to be? 2025 is coming. Have you set some intentions for you? Let's start shedding the old man and step into the new. And that's what this is all about. So thank you if you've made it this far. Those of you who want to join our Discord community, like I said, we've got some incredible things coming up. Come speak to myself and Joseph, speak to the Neville bot as well as 24/7 support. Those of us with anxiety, those of us who feel lonely, you might feel like you need that, and Neville can help you with understanding inner conversations. He can craft them for you. He can give you imaginal acts, whatever it is that you need guidance on the law of assumption. And it's the most accurate that you will ever find anywhere else, because it only uses Neville Goddard's teachings and lectures. Aside from that, I wish you guys the best. If you want to read up some more success stories, all the links are in the description box below. Go to my website, see how incredible this law is. Remind yourself how powerful you are. I love and appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in the next video.